world to a valley, to a place called Jehoshaphat Valley. And Jehoshaphat Valley in Hebrew means God the Judge. That's why the Jews from beginning of times till today think that Judgment Day will take place here, and that's why they started burying their people on the Mount of Olives to be the first ones there. Now this was closed by the Ottomans. Why? Because they thought that Jesus will come back and judge the world. And then when he comes back, he opens that gate. Why? Because this is the oldest gate in the city. Why? Because this part of the wall is actually the part of the supporting wall of the platform of the Temple Mount Plaza, which was built by Herod the Great. And plus, when you have a wall, you always keep it on the top, you don't go down in the valley. You know, if you are protecting your city, the walls you don't put down, you put them up, right? And if you now just come close to the middle, well, you can do it. So let's just close to the This belongs to the Greek church here. You know, this is the church of St. Stephen. The one here. The one here, Church of St. Stephen. Stephen was the first martyr in Christendom. He was stoned down here, okay? And then he was killed here, and then he was taken to the other side to be buried. Look at your left down here. You will see a tomb that looks like a cone, a pyramid-shaped tomb, right? This is like a cone shape. That is the tomb of Absalom, or Absalom, the son of David, right? He rose against his father because his father declared his kingdom 7 years in Hebron before he became a king. So his son did the same, but he was killed, and this is his tomb here. So let's say already 1,000 years BC, we have ancient tombs down here which show from the beginning of time the Jews believe that there will be Judgment Day will take place here. Now the Muslims, that's why, by the way, the Muslims took the other side of the valley. You see, this is one side on where we are, the other side is Muslim cemetery. You see it?
Yes.
You see the Muslim cemetery?
Yes. Yeah. Or along the edge of the
They
wall.
also believe that Judgment Day will take place here, and that if your valley in the position becomes hell, and you have to cross over hill, and then if you have more bad points than good points, you fall in hell. Okay? And that is also a reason why the city of Jerusalem never extended on the Mount of Olives, because it was a cemetery. No Jew would live in a cemetery.
Right.
The only time they started extending on the Mount of Olives is the Byzantine era. In the Byzantines, when they came, they thought not a problem. They started living the same in Bethany, for example. When we went to Bethany, I told you the city developed around the tomb of Lazarus, just in the 4th century only, because the Christians were able to do it. The Jews will never go and live in a cemetery. And of course here, this will be a valley that goes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and connects down at the end with Gesthemane Valley. And you also can see that the city of Jerusalem topographically has 3 valleys, one to the east, all the way up, one to the south, and one to the west. So that's why the only possibility of extending the city was only to the north, the way we drove, because it's straight, you know, and this means the walls of the city were changing to the north and back, to the north and back, depending on the size of the city. said, means Gesthemane, which means the oil press. Okay? Why the oil press? Because here, just down here, which is another part. You know, the Garden of Gethsemane was not a small garden. It was all the area here. And because down here we have a small cave, and inside that cave they found remains of an oil press. I mean, we are on the Mount of Olives. And the Mount of Olives was well known for its olives. That's why we call it the Mount of Olives. Today, unfortunately, there is nothing. No olives, nothing, and it's a build-up area. That's why it is not. But at the time, there were many more olives than today, and that's why they had an oil press. And as we mentioned in the multiplication, if you still remember, that the people press the oil 3 times a day. The virgin olive oil goes to the temple, the first real press you eat, the second, you know, the Hebrew collect everything, we press it and get out some drops, and these would be used for oil lamps, and these would be used for soap and other stuff. And this was only symbolic that Jesus comes and prays here 3 times as if he was pressed 3 times like the olives. We can read about this in the different Gospels, John, Luke, and whatever. So Jesus comes to Gethsemane as his custom was. I mean, this was not the first one here, the first time he comes here, but that was the last time he came. And again, the disciples were here, and he asked the 3, you know, whom we mentioned yesterday, remember, John and James and Peter, to come with him. And he went a little bit further away to pray. And every time he comes back, he finds them asleep. And we talked about the meaning of being asleep yesterday. But Jesus is praying a famous prayer. If it is possible to take away this cup from me, but your will be done. And again today, are we doing the will of God in our lives? I mean, here Jesus knew exactly what this meant to do the will of God. It meant crucifixion. He knew exactly, and yet he was ready to take the will of God and to do the will of God in his life. And the question is today whether we do the will of God in our lives or not. Probably again, as I said, in Nazareth, today we do our will, thinking that our will is the will of God. The opposite. And that's why, as I mentioned outside, that Jesus takes on the cross in the second station. First station, Jesus is condemned to death. The second station, Jesus takes on the cross because he is doing the will of God willingly. He wants to do what God wants to do. And here he was taken away from here after Judah giving him up, you know, he gave him up by a kiss, and you know, he kissed him. He said, it's a sign that Jesus is asking, are you giving the Son of Man with a kiss? And maybe we think about it, we can do the same thing today. We do give up Jesus several times a day by doing things which are maybe less valuable than this one, this is more valuable. And we still do that on a regular basis. And from here they take him to Caiaphas' house, where we will be going today. So we try.
Father, dew is still on the roses, and a voice I hear calling on my ear. The Son of God is close, and he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and with joy
sit with trumpets as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets to be honored by others. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. And when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by others. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. And then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. And when you pray, do not keep on babbling like pagans, for they think they will be heard because of their many words. Do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask him. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ. Let our lives be true, and offering of ashes, and offering we offer you, we offer you,
Lest you shall return. Remember that lest you are, lest you shall return. Remember that dust you are, that to dust you shall return. Remember that dust you are, that to dust you shall return.
Just a few minutes. Can we do that?
What?
Spend some
Enjoy the place.
Todos cerramos
says pizza.
They came to him because those who were in the temple and those disciples who heard the Pharisees all the time, they would just talk, and blah, 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 blah. They said, look, should we talk like that? No. And that's why he taught us here a model of all prayers. And this model is setting the relationship between us and God as our Father. That's why we call him our Father in heaven, right? Our Father who art in heaven. And this means if the relationship between us and God is as a father and a son, then we are good brothers and sisters. So this prayer defines the relationship vertically and the relationship horizontally, okay? And as once Pope Benedict said, we dare to call this Father Papa. You have to have an intimate relationship, an intimate relationship with this Father, and then you can talk to him like you want to in the night when you are in the bed, okay? You can have an intimate relationship, and you can talk to your Father who is not a distant Father. And this prayer is two parts. The first part is thanksgiving. You thank God, you praise his name and all that. And the second part is petition. And the problem with the petitions is when we sometimes ask God for things and we start doubting, where is this God? I mean, I've been praying for 15 years to change the job, no change. I've been praying 20 years to get rid of my husband. No change is happening in my life. I wanted to have a car, I cannot. I want to have this. And then, you just think about it as we did to our children. As my children, the triplets, I have triplets, did I tell you?
Oh my goodness.
Okay, they are today 23. The triplets, as they were 10, 12, that was the wave at the time, 15 years ago, of the iPhones, and they would make me a headache every day. iPhone, we want an iPhone, and I say no iPhones, okay? Why? Everybody has an iPhone, why not we? I said, because if you have an iPhone, you will not go to school, and your school goes down, and you finish school, and then you get your iPhone. And they had to wait 5 or 6 years till they finished high school, and they got their phones, okay? And this is exactly what happens if we see things our children don't see, and God sees things which we don't see, and he's giving us what we need in the right time and in the right place. Today, it's very interesting that my children say, we want to thank you for doing what you did then, because at the time, if you would have let us do what we wanted, we wouldn't have been today where we are. And the same thing is with God. He is giving us what we need in the right time and in the right space, in the fullness, not a little bit, I always take the example of the man who was crippled, the crippled man who was laying for 38 years and praying probably that somebody is putting him in the water, and after 38 years, Jesus is healing him because he had the faith and he waited, and he had the virtue of patience, and he received the healing in its fullness. Sometimes in our lives we look back and we say, wow, it was good that I didn't get this job, which I was killing myself to take, because if I would have done that, I've been on the street since 3 years. And it's good that God didn't do this to me and it's good that I didn't buy this Fiat car, because it's Fehler in alle Teile, as the Germans say. Failure, all problems are in that car. So it seemed beautiful at the beginning, and so on. And this means we just have to have the trust that God will give us what we need if we humans do this to our children. So what about our Father? By the way, this prayer is the only prayer that Jews pray every day. You know? Of course, this is a prayer that the Jews pray every day. This is not a Christian prayer. This is a Jewish prayer. It's what Jesus taught us to pray. He prayed and he taught us how to pray. What was he?
Jew.
He was a Jew. Who was he teaching? His disciples, they were Jewish. I mean, they were looking at the temple and saying, should we pray like that? No. Don't pray like the Jews there. Pray like what I teach you, which is Jewish. And of course, this is a prayer that they pray every day. And they know, and the rabbis say, this is a prayer. This is a prayer, you know, because it is fulfilling all what we need. Prayer in the first 300 years of Christianity, and then it became a church. It seems like here you can see the Alps, the direction of prayer to the east. So it must have been here a small church. In the last rain, part of this fell down. You see here down, there's a rock that fell down at the entrance, of the cave there, where you can see the tombs of the patriarchs. There used to be a light. The light is broken now, but the tombs of the patriarchs between 324 and 614 were buried here. Okay, and this was used as a kitchen in the First World War. Okay, now since this is the place where Jesus taught us how to pray, it is the place where we should pray too. Yes.
Can we sing it?
Yes, let's sing it.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is.
Germany is all mine.
This is
Bologna.
What nationality?
Portuguese, honey.
French?
Portuguese.
Is this a French facility?
No script.
She was French. Yeah. She was. Yep.
What these are.
Amazing.
No, we were at Dominus Flevit, right there. We were over there.
Yeah. Sure is. I would say. Yeah.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
See why I say hold on.
Boy, I suddenly hope I don't have to walk back up.
We are in a place called Dominus Flevit. And Dominus Flevit, of course, means in Latin, the Lord wept. And here we remember Jesus coming down the same way as we did, and then he rested probably like we do now, and he looked at the city and he started crying. And we know that Jesus cried at least twice, right? When was it written? Once with Lazarus and once here. And I talked about this when we were in the tomb of Lazarus in the church, and I said that we have a Saturday before Palm Sunday, which we call Lazarus Saturday, where the church is celebrating the raising of Lazarus. And theologians discuss and see why did Jesus cry. First, it shows that he was a human being like us. He had feelings, he would cry, he would laugh, he would be happy, and so on. Secondly, he looked at the city and he cried probably because he knew what was going to happen to the city. And he said in Luke 19:41 to 44, how many times I wanted to gather your children around you like a hen its brood, but you did not know the time of your salvation. Your enemies will surround you and they will destroy you and kill your children inside you, and they will not keep a stone over stone. And this, everybody agrees that this happened in the year 70 as Titus made a ring around the city and he destroyed it. He made a ring around the city and he destroyed it and did not keep a stone over a stone. That's why there is nothing in Jerusalem that dates back to the time of Jesus. Very, very, very few things. Maybe a stone on the ground that they left. And you go over 4 roughly, so you know how, if it's 60 shekels, then it's roughly $15, maybe a little bit more, but roughly. Look at your left, you see this onion-shaped church domes, you see them? Here to the left, these are the golden ones. This is Russian Orthodox, okay? Church of Saint Mary of Magdala.
I'm sorry. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because you went in one way and out the other, and
his physical journey had come to an end. But his spiritual journey was only beginning. Hidden inside his robe is his bundle of coins, his wages of an entire year, or maybe more.
Welcome.
Shalom, I'd like to purchase a half shekel coin.
That'll be 300 per dog. You're 4 short.
And what if he doesn't have enough money? Perhaps he bought something with him to sell for such a situation. Perhaps it was the cup. Was it a measuring cup, or maybe not a cup, but a precious container? Now he's gotten his half shekel and must buy an animal for sacrifice with a few coins remaining. He couldn't carry his sacrifice all the way from his village to Jerusalem without it getting hurt. The sacrifice rules were clear, but not always easy to follow. A woman who had given birth brought 2 doves. A cured leper brought a sheep. Our pilgrim, like those before him, bought the sacrificial animal here. I'd like the goat.
Okay, it will cost you 400 per dog.
Perhaps the woman fainted. He brought her some water. The journey continues. His body trembles as the moment approaches. Now he goes to one of the ritual baths. The degree of his purity depends upon him and his intentions alone. He enters the closed building. The stone steps are divided in 2. He descends on one side, still in an impure state. He immerses his naked body, with nothing coming between him and the water. After he dips, he ascends on the other side of the staircase, purified. For this important moment of his life, he won't leave behind a trace of impurity. Now purified, careful not to touch any impure object or person, he ascends the staircase to the Holy Gate and emerges on the Temple Mount, prepared and sanctified. I can almost hear his heart pounding wildly and feels excitement. Stunned, he finds it difficult to move as the temple looms before him. The glittering building before him is the Holy Temple. In awe, he proceeds onto the temple platform. Can you see it through his eyes? Behind him, the tall columns of the royal portico. A huge plaza filled with tens of thousands of people, purified, approaching the temple. The breathtaking building of colossal white stones, towering high above the courtyards. Opposite him, smoke rises from the sacrificial altar. Up to the barriers surrounding the temple, entrance is permitted to all. Only Jews may pass beyond it. Women can go as far as the women's court. Beyond a certain point, only the Levites and the priests may pass. Only priests are allowed into the closed building, and only the high priest may enter the Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur. The pilgrim probably never read the writings of ancient Greek and Roman authors about Israel. They speak of 3 wonders: the Dead Sea, in which all objects float, a single day of the week during which no work is done, and above all, the temple, which does not contain a single statue. The temple is not a gathering place, but the house of God. Thus, worshippers assemble around the temple, while the sacrifices are performed only by the priests. He presents the sacrifice to the priest. The priest raises his hands. The smoke ascends from the altar. I can almost smell it. And in the midst of all this, the pilgrim from a small village in the Galilee stands in awe. This was once a bustling place. We'll never know all the true details. We can only imagine how the temple looked, what the people looked like, what did they hear, what did they feel at this holy moment. We'll never really solve the mystery of the cup either. Still, I keep coming here to walk among the past and listen to its echoes. Sometimes I can even see him, see our pilgrim, finally turning to head home, but carrying a memory that will last a lifetime.
Well, I don't, surgery, I don't know, but I'm not that bad. Usually it flares up. And then,
Mr. Kit. You heard that too?
Southern Excavation and Old Davidson Center. The 2nd century to pray at the Wailing Wall. Okay? Now, till 1967, the holiest place for the Jews was where?
No, jest lakciata rapnicza.